And in that moment, I genuinely thought, I think I might die today with what I'm about to do. What's up, everybody? I'm JP, the Stable Cyclist, and in exactly 1 month, I will be lining up at the Maah Daah Hey 100. And after a little bit of my own mid-season break here on the channel, I am, over the next month leading up to that race, going to be bringing you a 10-part series about my participation, about my build-up, about everything that goes into this race for me this year and why it is so special. And today we're going to kick that off by talking about kind of what are we doing here? Why am I at this race, or why am I so obsessed with getting back to this race? Now, how I got to the Maah Daah Hey 100 actually comes via gravel. You see, for a long time I was a road racer and a gravel racer, and in 2018 my family and I traveled out to Medora, North Dakota for the Badlands Gravel Battle. And that day I had one of the best days I've ever had on a bike, and I ended up winning the race. And when I finished, after I got done hugging my kids, race director Nick Ybarra walked up to me and he said, "You've got a big engine. If you can win this race, you should come back and race the Maah Daah Hey." And I laughed at him and I said, "I don't even own a mountain bike." And he said, "Well, you should get one." And that was kind of an idea implanted in my head. And later that summer, I ended up actually purchasing a mountain bike, and I did my first race. And that's a story for another day, because that first race was an absolute disaster. But I had it clear in my mind that in 2019, a year later, I was going to head out to Western North Dakota and race the Maah Daah Hey 100. Through that winter of 2018 and 2019, I had some of the best training in my life. But while all that was going on, my mental health was also completely unraveling on me. Now, at the time, we had no idea what was going on. I just felt really off. And I would go through long periods of time where I wouldn't need to sleep, or I couldn't sleep. And then I would go through other times where I couldn't get out of bed and I couldn't do anything. For most of the summer in 2019, I got things back together and my training was going really well. But in hindsight, we now know that the 2 weeks leading up to the Maah Daah Hey 100 in 2019, I was in a fairly manic stretch. In fact, I was barely sleeping at all. And the week leading into the Maah Daah Hey 100, I didn't sleep more than an hour each night. And I felt really off. But I had set this goal that I was going to go do it. Since becoming an adult, I can only remember a couple times that I was genuinely scared. And one of those is at the starting line of the Maah Daah Hey 100. There's a moment before the start when the race director asks us to bow our heads and pray for safety. And in that moment, I genuinely thought, I think I might die today with what I'm about to do. And I wish I were joking, but I'm not. I knew something was really off in my body, and I even knew something was wrong with my mind, but I couldn't explain what was going on. And over the next 13 hours, I had what was quite honestly a traumatic experience for me on the mountain bike. I had a complete emotional undoing on the trail near Elkhorn Ranch, where I stood on the trail and wept over my bike for 5 minutes. And it was a death march to the finish line. But I'm also a really resilient person because of everything else that I've had to endure with my mental health. And so indeed, I made it to the finish line. After the Maah Daah Hey 100 in 2019, my mental health continued to plummet. And then we entered 2020 and the pandemic, and I went through 3 more major cycles of mania and depression, ending in 2020 when I finally crashed to the point that I needed real help. Although I wasn't diagnosed until that fall, I had been showing signs and symptoms of bipolar for over a decade. In one of those first appointments after my diagnosis, I remember telling my doctor, I don't think I can ever ride my bike again. It wasn't, I don't want to ride my bike again. I just didn't think I could. I was so clapped out. I was so done physically and mentally from what I had gone through that I didn't think it was possible. But what I was really saying that day, and what was really in my mind that I can remember crystal clear, is thinking, I'm never going to get back to the Maah Daah Hey. I'm never going to be able to go back there and race and redeem what was such a messy and traumatic day for me in 2019. My doctor knew I needed exercise to manage my mental health, and so she started me out with baby steps. She put me on a beginner 12-week Couch to 5K run walk program. And for 3 months in the winter, I'd go outside and walk. Eventually I was able to pedal a little bit on my bicycle on the trainer. And come springtime, I was able to start riding hard and even racing. And in 2021, I spent most of the summer racing in the sport division of the Minnesota Mountain Bike Series. Look, I know I don't belong in the sport division, but I needed something that I could go and actually do. And that the next day I'd be able to get back up and exercise again and do it again until I was fully rehabbed physically and could enter into the class where I should be. But it was also really healthy for me to just go and race and have some success and have fun. And I got to meet a lot of new people that summer who were super supportive of what I was doing. And that summer I also went on some podcasts and started to tell my story. And my story started to pick up traction with people who could relate to what I was going through. By last year, 2022, I was starting to be in a really good place. But if I'm totally honest, I was scared on the bike. I knew that I could handle these 1-hour races without much of a problem. But going up to an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes, or even thinking about going really long into the gravel racing scene again, was something that was really scary for me. But my friend Tyler got me out to his gravel race in mid-July, the Burley County Cup. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, that race was a mess. But I got to see a lot of my friends. And afterwards, I remember sitting around with Tyler and his wife and talking about what was next on the bike. And Tyler just said to me, look man, if you can come and do this, I think in another year, we can do the Maah Daah Hey 100 again. Now Tyler's important in this story because he's the guy standing next to me at the starting line in 2019. I think I made an off-color joke about why my family's so big, and we're having a good time. But like I told you, I was terrified that day. Tyler's gotten to be a pretty good friend. And indeed, in just 1 month, he and I are lining up together at the Maah Daah Hey 100. Now, he's gonna destroy me. I'm not even gonna try and race with him. He's a much better rider than I am. But his friendship and the friendship of many others, as well as the support of so many in the mountain bike community, have allowed me to slowly, step by step, get my way back to the starting line of this year's Maah Daah Hey 100. People like Tyler are a huge reason why I launched the Stable Cyclist platform this year, to tell more stories about mental health and bikes, and to talk more openly about things. And the main reason I'm sharing this story is for you, so that you see someone with bipolar doing something successful. Maybe you have bipolar, or maybe someone you know has bipolar. Or maybe I can just help build empathy into your life towards people who do have a mental illness. Regardless, you are important in this story, and I'm so glad you're along for the ride. Make sure to go reach out to those around you and remind them they are loved, whether or not they have bipolar, because it's the right thing to do. I'm so glad you're with. I'm JP the Stable Cyclist. We'll see you next time.